All right, let's do this, man. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special edition of the Kishingari podcast. Today we have Imogen's dad in the building, man. The source of Imogen.
half the source of Imogen.
Half the sauce. We had some good time here with Imogen. Did you get to watch the podcast?
Oh yes. I watched. I have to say I didn't watch all of it. I watched some of it.
Oh, okay.
I enjoyed what I watched because it was like 3 hours long.
Did you relate to any of the stories we were telling?
I think some of them might have had an element of truth.
All right.
I'm not going to answer any specific allegations.
Yeah. You're on a play too. You're.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I'm in Oliver, which is a musical based on an old English book by Charles Dickens.
Oliver
Twist, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a musical, singing, dancing, acting, which was originally came out in the 1960s, and there was a film about it. But this is on at the Braeburn Theatre.
Yeah.
Which, sure many people know, and start opening on the 9th of May.
Oh, nice.
So
are you doing like heavy rehearsals around it?
Quite a lot of rehearsals. So because there's so much in it, there's the obviously the acting, but there's also the singing, which I'm not a natural singer, so I have to rehearse that, and also I'm not a natural dancer. But there's some quite large dance scenes, where you've got like 30 or more, 40 people on stage, all dancing different steps.
Yeah.
And, some of them the same steps, hopefully.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's a very entertaining show, actually.
I've watched the movie.
Well, it's very similar to the movie.
Okay.
Very similar.
There's a scene where they were I think in the children's home.
Yep.
So he was a new kid in the home, and then this kid, the guy who was training them, which I think you're playing.
I am Fagin. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was teaching him how to pick. You've watched the movie, right?
I've watched the movie many times.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think saying children's home is a bit kind. This is the guy Fagin is a crook.
Oh yeah.
And these essentially are what you would call street children who he is training to go out and rob people.
Oh yes.
And he picking pockets. So the song you're referring to is called you have to pick a pocket or two.
Yes, pick a pocket or two.
Oh yes.
Man, I loved it.
And I have to sing that. I enjoy singing it. I don't know if the audience will enjoy listening to me singing it, but anyway. And then so we're in Victorian England, so 19th century, a time when there was a lot of poverty and also a lot of wealth. So some similarities even with modern Nairobi. You had like the rich classes who had lots of servants, they had everything they wanted, and then you had the poorest people at the bottom who were just trying to scratch a living. And most people were honest, but there were obviously some criminals as well. And people who exploit children for their own gain.
But it's a picture of society, right? Because I'm sure even now there's a Fagan somewhere in Nairobi who's training kids to pick a packet or two.
I wouldn't like to make accusations, but I'm not surprised. Wouldn't be surprised if there was. Sadly, children get exploited, and particularly when they're poor. But the show is a happy show. It's not. It has a social message, but it's entertainment.
All right.
And it's got. It's kind of uplifting.
Oh, okay.
So the bad guys get their due rewards.
Yeah. Karma catches up with the bad guys.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
Yeah. So where are we getting our tickets?
You can get them if you just Google Braeburn Oliver, or Oliver Braeburn School. They have a ticketing website, and you can get your tickets there.
Oh, okay.
And I hope they're going to sell out fast. So
hopefully, man. I think what are the dates again? What's the date?
So it opens on the 9th of May, which is a Friday.
Okay.
Then it's on the 9th, 10th, 11th. So it's on the Friday evening, Saturday evening, and there's a Sunday afternoon for so kids and families can come more easily. And then the following weekend, whatever date that is, so that's like the 7 plus 9 is whatever it is, 16. Mm-hmm. It's 16th, 17th, 18th. Okay. So it's the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's 6 performances. Mm-hmm. And I get to play Fagin in 3. Mm-hmm. And then in the other 3, the director of the show really wanted to play Fagin.
All right.
So although he cast me, he said, "Yeah, but there's."
I also want
I also want to play Fagin. So you have this kind of competition with he's not as good as me. He's better than me. He did that bit better than me. But it's a brilliant. The director Jazz is fantastic. He's such a good guy, and actually I completely understand why he wants to do that. But it actually works out really well because there's also an ensemble, which is like the bulk of the cast. There's like the principals, which Fagin is a principal. There's an ensemble. So when I'm not being Fagin in those performances, I'm somebody else.
Okay.
So and actually that is harder because that is where all the dancing, the singing and dancing go on at the same time. So actually the Fagin bit in some ways is easier because it's like I've got to also learn some songs, but I don't have the complicated dancing, and I'm not a natural dancer. So but it means I get to do more things, and it's a good.
Were you an actor in when you were in school?
Not really, actually. I did. I mean, funnily enough, one of the few things I was in was the same show when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
And there's quite a funny photo of me in this.
Oh, you have
show.
The photo?
Yeah, not here. But I won't show
you. Yeah.
But I can send it to you if you want to. No, but it was so I wasn't playing the same character. I was playing a different character. But so I was in a few things, but I kind of went to at school. I was in a kind of very studious kind of group. Did you go to school in London? Yeah, in London. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in London. I mean, I was very fortunate. I went to a very good school. What they called public schools.
All right.
But
public school at that time was really good, right?
No. England's weird. Okay, so a public school in Britain is like the best private school.
All right.
I know it's just the British. The British do this. I mean, there is a very old historical reason because hundreds and hundreds of years ago, the really rich people didn't go to school at all. Their kids all had private tutors.
Okay.
So then they started opening schools. They called them public schools because anyone could come if they could pay.
Oh, okay.
But that's the origin of the term. But anyway, this school was like a fee-paying
public school. So it was a good school. Is it like the school? Is it Eton?
No, not Eton. No, it's not like that. It's not as posh as that.
Eton is a public school, though.
Yes, it is very much so.
But it's where the Prince Charles went to Eton, right? Did he?
No, he didn't. He went. So I don't know if you've ever seen. Have you seen that series, The Crown?
Yes.
So there's an episode in that where he's like this little. Obviously, he's a little kid. He wants to go to Eton, and his mum, the Queen, wants him to go to Eton, but the Duke of Edinburgh, who was like the Queen's husband.
Okay.
He said, he needs to go somewhere where it'll be tough.
Yeah.
And it's too soft if he goes to Eton. It'll be too easy. So he was sent to a place called Gordonston in Scotland, where basically they sort of had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and have a cold shower. I
remember some of the scenes.
Run across the hills and before they had sort of a cup of fugali for breakfast. So anyway, that's a bit of an aside.
No, it's I love it.
And at least according to the TV program, which is my only source of information. Actually, no, I do have another source of information, which is quite interesting. So shall I tell you about it?
Tell me.
So when I was you ask about whether I did any drama at school. So I didn't really do it at school because after a certain age, it was all about exams and studying and stuff. And I actually wanted to do drama, but they said, no, you can't because you've got to be at your books. You know? But then
that's your folks, right?
No. My parents were fine. No, it wasn't them. It was the school itself.
All right.
So no, it was this. I mean, it was a shame because the school had a theatre and all, I wanted to get involved in that, but they said, you're in the group that has to study. So but then when I went to university, then I did a few things at university, and I was in a like a sort of comedy group.
Okay.
Comedy, actually.
We're back to comedy, man.
Back to comedy, which I don't know. Stop me if I'm going to too much.
No, no. I'm
So I don't know whether you've heard of a group called the Footlights. Have you heard of? John Cleese.
Yes, I have. Monty Python.
The Monty Python people. Also, more recently, I forgot what they're called. That they do a show, the Now Show on the BBC. I don't know if they do stand-up stuff.
Okay.
There's a couple of them. Anyway, so they all went through this this club in university, it's Cambridge University, called the Footlights, which is quite well known in comedy circles, because it's like a breeding ground for
comedians.
comics, and a lot of famous comedians, like not Rowan Atkinson, but if you know Mr. Bean. Rowan,
yes.
But other comedians that were close to him went through that. Anyway, what am I saying? Yeah, so I thought, I could join this club. You know, that would be fun. No talent whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I went to the audition and just bombed out.
You bombed
completely failed that.
Were there many other people at the audition?
Well, I mean, I think they I mean, not when I was there, but I mean, they were auditioning lots of people.
Yeah.
But so this is probably not true, but I think I was auditioned by, have you heard of Stephen Fry?
Yes.
And Emma Thompson, the actress. She's been in loads of movies and stuff. So they were there at the same time as me, and they were in Footlights.
Yo.
And I was interviewed by a man and a woman. So my story is I was interviewed by
Stephen Fry and Emma Thompson. Yeah, that's the unofficial story, right?
That's the unofficial story. I've got no evidence to back it up, other than my wishful thinking. But that's what I mean. Why not? Who cares? They're not gonna remember.
So what was the audition like? You're told to play a certain role?
Yeah, I mean, it's like expunged from my memory. I had therapy to get rid of the stress. You know, it was
You felt bad.
They asked me to tell some jokes and anyway.
I'm sorry.
And sing a song. No, it was fine. It was fine. It was all right. It was quite okay. They were very kind. That's the worst thing. It's the worst thing if people are kind, because if people are kind, you think, I know I was really bad. Like if people are sort of, that was okay, but you know, you didn't do that bit too well. But if they're just kind, you think,
I let them down.
That was so awful. No, it's not that. It's not that you let them down, but it's more that you realise how awful you were. Because like it's like, you know, that was really good. That was thank you so much. Oh God, it's obviously completely terrible.
I've bombed out quite a number of auditions too, man.
I'm sure you have.
So anyway, no, I have, for real.
So what there was another club, comic club, which was for people who had enthusiasm, but not necessarily any talent. And it was called QUELS. It was the Cambridge University Light Entertainment Society. But so anyway, I thought, well, I still want to do this. So I thought, well, I'll just audition for this other thing. And I thought, what am I going to do? And I just auditioned, and I just did this crazy laugh, like this like, and that's all I did. I'm just going to be
the wicked. Is it like the wicked laugh?
The wicked laugh.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd just do it. And so I got into this thing.
Oh, you got through.
I got through.
The laugh thing worked.
The laugh thing worked. But bear in mind that this is like all the talent goes to this other club. So this is the club for the people who just want to do it.
Yeah.
And that's not fair. There were definitely talented people in it as well, but not me. But what they did, their sort of their policy. So like the proper one would put on shows like you guys do, and they in a nice venue with a bar, and they charge money. People would pay. They go. They have a great time. This other one, well, we're never going to get people to come and see our shows, even for free. But what are we going to do? I know. We'll do shows in places where the audience can't escape. So we did shows. We did a show in a prison. So it was a young offenders prison. They call them borstals. I don't know, but they're prisons for young men. Like I guess from sort of, I don't know.
I think they call them approved schools.
Approved schools.
Yeah.
And the I remember it so well. And this was like in the early 80s. And I don't know if things have changed, but it was like, it really was like something out of the Victorian era, you know, for 200 years ago. And it was like this building, and the walls were just like brick walls with like water dripping down them. And then you had all of the guys on rows. They were all wearing like grey prison uniforms, and all down the side you had the prison warders with hats and lights. And so like we were just kind of these university kids, privileged university kids. And of course we were men or boys, men I suppose, young men and women. And of course this is a male prison. So we've got all these, jokes and stuff like that. And like basically there were two things that these guys wanted. They wanted swearing, because they weren't allowed to swear.
Okay. The prisoners,
because they were they were boys. They weren't allowed to swear. I mean, obviously they did swear, but like they would get punished for swearing. And girls, because they were locked up in prison. So basically, as soon as they didn't laugh at any of the jokes, but as soon as any of us said anything, I won't swear on your podcast, but as soon as we started to, swear in the comedy, everyone thought this was hilarious.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's a punchline. It was just, and then as soon as a girl came on stage,
they'd go crazy.
They just go crazy, and you couldn't hear what she was saying because then it was.
So they just go wild.
So there was that show. That was starting, and then the other show we did was like the other end of the scale. So it was, you don't really have them in Kenya, which is good because old people tend to be respected and live in the families. But in Europe, in the West, you have a lot of old people's homes. So basically, old people,
old folks'
homes, exactly. And so we did an old folks' home show. So again, these old
captive audience,
old ladies, they don't get much entertainment. They'll watch anything if it's put on in front of them. So we did a show there, which was very sweet actually. It was very nice, and we did songs from 40 years before, so from their youth and stuff like that. So that was kind of nice.
Oh, okay.
But one of the things there, something you said, oh yes, that's right. You were talking about Prince Charles. So the younger brother of Prince Charles, who's Edward. Yes, Prince Edward is one of the kids. He was also there. He was in the same group because he was
Scotland.
No, in my university.
All right.
So he was in this comedy group.
All right.
And he's a super guy.
So you did all the shows together
with just the old people's show.
Oh, okay.
And he's go on record. He was a great guy, really nice, totally not sort of trying to be more important than anything. He was great, really good fun, and really sort of joined in.
Okay.
But it was a couple of things. One was like the first time I went to like this meeting, and I don't know, like you were Nairobi University. I mean, you get together in somebody's room, and you're all kind of like a room like this, and you're all sitting around and like having whatever tea or Coke or something. And so we're sitting around there, and then on the other side of the room, I see this guy, and he's like old. He's like 30s.
Yeah.
Which, like, when you're a student, he's like, what's this old guy?
Yeah.
Like, what's this old guy doing here? And then I looked beside me, and there was this guy that I'd been sitting next to. And when I arrived, so this guy was sitting next to me, just like you are there. Mm-hmm. Oh, hi, how are you? Fine. And I said to him, so how did you get into this thing? And he said to me, Tim Hasty Smith phoned me and asked me to come along. And who's the head of the whole?
Okay.
I said, well, that's weird because like the head of the whole club calls somebody, and telephones him. I mean, this was the early 80s.
Okay.
Nobody had phones.
Yeah.
There was years before mobiles. Nobody had phones in their
home.
In their like university, in your dorm, your university. So, well, that's a bit weird. Anyway. So then a little bit later, so I see this guy across the room, this old guy, and then I thought, what's it? And then I suddenly like the wheels click, click, click. Wait a minute, he's the private detective, the security guy for the prince, who I just asked why he was here.
Oh,
and he's the prince of the realm. And I suddenly got all nervous, and then I dropped my coffee in my lap. And I went, oh, fuck! And I leapt into the air with all the
heat, the burn.
I peed myself.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry. So that was my humiliation. But then he was great. He was fun. So
what was the guard doing around? Or he used to
the guard was guarding him. Sorry, begin? What did you ask?
The guard was guarding him.
The guard was guarding him because he has like close security the whole time.
Oh, even in school?
Yeah. He has to have someone in case he gets kidnapped.
Oh, okay.
Like. But in fact, that's right actually, because so we're doing this show, and in the old folks' home, and we're getting ready, and we're just doing it in like jackets with like bow ties, you know, like a sort of posh dinner sort of jacket, and the Edward had to tie this tie, and he said, I don't know how to do this. Can someone help me? So I was like standing behind him, and I put my arms around his neck to help him
tie the tie.
And like the guard, he's like, and he just leapt across.
Damn!
Pushed me.
He came to rescue him
and said, "I'll do that."
That's crazy.
Because he thought, that'll look bad if I stop.
Yeah.
He'd lose his job. But anyway, sorry, that's too long a story. Probably.
No. That's interesting.
You can cut it. You can cut it down to like
no
a minute.
No. So like so you're growing up. You're in high. You're born which year?
I was born in. Actually, I was born the same year as Kenya.
Oh,
1963.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was born the same year as Kenya.
All right.
No connection to Kenya. I was born in the UK. It's not. I didn't come from any settler stock or anything. But I just 63. So it was a good year, I think. Well, good year for me. Good year for Kenya to really get its independence.
Yeah. How's it like? Like, do you have fond memories of your childhood?
Well, I don't remember 63 because I was
definitely.
Although
because by 73 you were 10.
73 I was 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. So born in 63 in the coldest winter for 50
in the north.
In the snow and the ice. But I've got extremely happy memories of growing up. Very happy. I had a very happy childhood. Lovely parents, a lovely family, and no complaints at all. It was great.
Was it just you, or
my brother, my slightly younger brother. So he's about. He's less than 2 years younger than me, so we were quite close. So close in age, quite different in temperament, but although he's also he's great. He lives in Japan.
Oh, okay. Shout out to him, man. That's a rim shot.
What does that do? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can watch this.
Yeah, he's definitely gonna watch. So shout out to you, brother.
Hi, William. Hi, Yuki.
William.
Woo, William. Woo.
So it's just you and William growing up. Were you guys close brothers? Would you describe your relationship as close when you're growing up?
I would say not like super close, but we just got on well, and I mean we fought like brothers do. Like I'd break something, and then I'd say to William broke that, that kind of thing. But pretty good natured actually. Okay. He was kind of bit more reserved than me, and I was a bit more outgoing, which is sometimes I think happens with an older and younger child. But I think it was great. We got on well.
And how are your folks like? Were they like the strict? Were kids getting whipped those days?
No. I mean, we got like a little slap, like a small smack, but nothing, no sort of beating,
nothing serious, nothing like lie down.
No.
Lie down.
No. At school, yes, but not at home.
Oh, okay.
So it might, because that's now banned. I mean, I think rightly so.
It's banned here too now.
Banned here, but in the olden days when I went to school,
during my years,
the headmaster would say, I was a very goody boy, so I hardly ever got punished. But when I did, and he would say, it's kind of a bit creepy if you describe it. So the headmaster would say, like you were standing in his study, and he would say, "Put your hands on the sofa." He wouldn't say, "I'm going to beat you." He just said, "Put your like basically bend over and put your hands on the sofa."
Okay.
And but you knew because the other boys had told you what was going to happen, and then you get. I mean, it was like a shoe. It was like a gym shoe, like a rubber shoe. So it wasn't like a cane.
All right.
Still hurt though, and you get whacked.
Yeah.
For being it didn't do me any harm.
Yeah. So did you? So in here we call it primary school, right? The lower.
Yeah.
We had primary school, then we had high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in high school, did you go to boarding or you were?
No, it was day. I went to a day, which I was very glad about actually, because I was going to go to boarding school. I was going to go to my dad's old school, and I was actually really worried about it. I didn't tell my parents, but I kind of for the last year of primary school, I was thinking, oh God, I was just it was like this dark thing that was ahead of me.
The idea of going to boarding school.
I just really didn't want to go, but I never said anything. But I just remember being really kind of waking up in the night and thinking, oh God, I don't want to do this, and da da da. And then it just worked out, because it turned out that there was this good day school that my parents liked. And they decided actually that it was better than the boarding school for academically, and so I went there instead, which was I was really relieved.
All right. Why did you have fears of boarding school? Did you hear bad stories? Or
No,
home?
It wasn't that I was worried about being bullied or being whatever molested or something. It was just I didn't want to go away from home. I was I don't know if I was exactly a mummy's boy, but I just liked being at home. It would just made me feel really sad not to be at home.
Okay.
So and it just wasn't the right time for me to. I mean, by the time I went, I couldn't wait to go to university. When you're 18, 17, that's great.
Yeah, you want to get out now.
30, it was 13. It was too young for me.
Oh, okay. And where was your was it in London?
The school was in London, yes.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
Yes.
So you basically grew up in London?
Well, from the age of 10, yeah. Before that, we moved around the country quite a lot.
Okay.
So I was born like you. I'm a Westerner.
All right, Western Kenya, baby.
In my case, Western England, from Exeter. It's a town called Exeter. I think it's not the westernmost city, but it's pretty much in the west. And it's the bit that's, I don't know if you can visualise a map of Britain. It's that little sort of leg that sticks out the bottom, like it's kicking Ireland.
All right.
And then I lived there. I remember it, although we left when I was 3. I was actually born in a vicar's house on a Sunday. A
vicar's is like a church?
A pastor.
A pastor's house.
A pastor's house.
On a Sunday.
On a Sunday. So it makes me a deeply spiritual person. My parents rented like a flat in this pastor's house.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't know.
Was that a normal thing?
Boring facts. I don't know if this is
no, they're interesting to me at least.
No, if not.
Was that a normal thing?
What to be born in a
vicar's house?
I mean, there wasn't like a queue of people waiting, pregnant women waiting to have. Oh, the vicar's house! Oh my God, the contractions have started! Oh, find me a vicar's house! No, it wasn't. I don't think so. Anyway, I mean,
it just happened.
It just happened. No, I mean, my parents lived there. It wasn't like they. But I mean, what is quite interesting is that this was 1963, and it was very common indeed. To give birth at home. I mean, obviously in Kenya, a lot of people give birth at home because there's no alternative, and so on. But in the UK, then that was the norm. People didn't normally go into hospital. But now, I'd say probably 100% or 99% of people in the UK and in developed countries would give birth in hospital. So, but anyway. The vicar wasn't, the pastor wasn't in attendance at the birth. It was a trained midwife, I hope.
That's what you've been told.
That's what I've actually seen. I've seen the photos, not of the actual birth, but my dad was, he's a very keen photographer. So like as soon as I was born.
How old was your dad when you were born?
He rushed out and took photos. How old was my dad when I was born? 33. So
meaning your dad was alive during the war, right?
Yeah. He was.
Does he have war stories? Did he share?
What, you mean the Second World War?
Yeah.
Well, Well, yeah,
Because that's when Britain was being blitzkrieg
by the
Germans. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was he lived on the south coast of England, so they had to sort of flee because the government said you can't be there because the Germans might land.
All right.
They were worried that they would just be bombed and German boats would come up at the beach or whatever. And then he was, he wasn't actively fighting because he was a kid, he was at school.
So maybe they have like solid memories of
what? No, he had. I remember he told me stories, and he saw saw bombing raids, and but he was mainly at school. I mean, he went to boarding school, because I mentioned, which was well away from the fighting. But he sort of followed it on the news or stuff. But actually, the more interesting about the war is both my grandfathers. So like my father's father and my mother's father, because they were like in their 30s, I suppose,
during the time
during the Second War, and so they both had to serve. So my father's father was in the army, but he was relatively old, so he was not. I don't know. He was 30, 35.
So he wasn't sent to the front line.
So he wasn't sent to the front
35 is old.
Well, no, it is in military terms. I mean, if you think about
that's good for me, man. If a war breaks out, I'm old. I'm too old.
But look how it's the young guys who
go to the front line, right?
Yeah, I mean, the average age in the Vietnam War was 19. The song, 19.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know this song, but
what about who sang? Anyway, I can't remember. But 19, and then I think the average age in the Second World War was like 22, something like 24.
Young people.
Because it's your young men, it's your Morans.
Yeah.
It's you.
They're the strong men of the time.
And they're the ones who get duped into fighting. Once you get a bit older, you think,
do I want to do this?
But like when you're sort of 20, patriotism, I want to go and fight. Yeah. It's in the genes. It's what young males are programmed to be, to fight, and whatever, become the dominant figures. But how did we get off onto that? Anyway,
you're telling me your grandparents were both.
So my father's father was in the army, but he served. He served in different parts of Britain, doing various kind of looking after armed camps and stuff like that. But then he had actually a very interesting job, which is he worked in prisoner of war camps, because obviously a lot of prisoners get taken.
Yeah.
He was actually the welfare officer in the prisoner of war, one of the prisoner of war camps. In other words, he was looking after the interests of the prisoners, although they were the enemy prisoners.
Okay.
I think Britain is quite.
So make sure they're treated well.
Yeah, and I think Britain done not bad things, but I think it was quite decent about how it treated the prisoners. It abided by the Geneva Conventions or whatever. So his job was just to make sure they were okay.
All right.
And he and actually one nice story is he did a lot. He had a lot of Italian prisoners.
Okay.
And actually, there's a parallel with Kenya, because there were a lot of Italian prisoners in Kenya during the Second World War.
All right.
They
got captured in Ethiopia.
In Ethiopia and also in Somalia, which was Italian Somalia, and they similarly. They're not really that interested in fighting, to be honest. I don't want to be rude to any Italians, but they were not really. They were quite sort of relaxed people, and very artistic. So in Kenya, there are several very beautiful churches that were decorated by the Italians, and in fact, the road, what we call the old escarpment road that goes down to Maimahiu.
Yeah.
That road was built, or if not built, then tarmacked by Italian prisoners of war.
Okay.
In the
including the church, right?
And the church, exactly. So that church was built by Italians. There's another church on the way up to Nanyuki, which was built, or at least decorated by Italians. So it's got beautiful paintings and stuff. And so in the prison that they were kept in, they had like just these very shenzi metal huts, which is similar to what many people live in Kenya, I suppose, but just very sort of basic huts. And the Italian prisoners painted the inside like it was, the Sistine Chapel in Vatican, beautiful sort of frescoes and stuff like that. And my father can remember going as like a kid to visit his dad, and then the Italian prisoners, Bambino, being showing him all this.
Yeah, come and see our jail cell.
And they used to make things like in the prison workshop that I've still got actually, things like little wooden placemats and things like that. So anyway, that's a little
sorry, I'm the one who diverted you to the war.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And then my other grandfather was in the he had a job which I think he couldn't he wasn't eligible for active service or something like that, but he volunteered to be in the fire service, and this was in Bristol where there were terrible bombing blitzes. And he was out many nights fighting fires. So he's actually, in some ways, more dangerous than being on the front line. Yeah. And I never met him because he died before I was born. Or I met my other grandfather. Right. And he was there's a cathedral in Bristol that was badly bombed in the war, but that was rebuilt afterwards. And there's this stained glass window, a bit like in the cathedral here, with beautiful pictures. Yeah. But one of them represents the fire crew putting out a fire in the war. And my mum always said, that's my dad.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's basically, it's my dad. But anyway, that's.
But it's interesting. Fortunately, we haven't been through a war here in Kenya.
Well, I mean, Kenya went through. Actually, no, that's not true, because the First World War, go back to the war before. I mean, not Kenya as an independent country, but the Askari monument on Kenyatta Avenue, CBD. I mean, that memorializes the fact that a horrific number of Kenyans, and I guess they weren't called Kenyans then, but the people of this part of the world perished in a war that was nothing to do with them. Yeah. I mean, just because one bunch of white guys said, this is British, and another bunch of white guys said, this is German. Oh, we're going to have a war. Yeah. Okay, let's get all these inhabitants to be our porters and and stuff, and then die in horrible conditions. And it was so Kenya. Kenya wasn't directly affected by the Second World War, I don't think, although there were fears that the Italians might invade. But there was a lot going on here in the Second World War because he had a lot of training and shout out for the Kenyan troops who fought in Burma. Yeah. I mean, they were very significant. They were called the King's African Rifles because it was the king and it was the colonial times. But they served with great distinction.
That's during the Second World
War, fighting the Japanese.
Oh, okay. They were taking all that way, damn.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was the British Empire. So
the sun does not set on the British Empire.
Some of these chaps and get them to fight these chaps.
Why don't we get a few Kenyans?
I mean, it's the morality is not questionable, is bad. But on the other hand, just respect the people who did it, and they serve with great bravery and distinction, I think. But you're right. I mean, very fortunately and blessedly, independent Kenya has not had a war. I mean, it's had.
Britain too has not been in a war for quite a while.
Correct. I mean,
since the Second World War, there's not been really.
Well,
unless you're talking about the War on Terror.
Oh, the War on Terror. The War on Terror. The Korean War. The Korean War. And sorry, I talk about war. That's not right for a comedy podcast. But there have been a few wars here and there.
The Korean War was which year?
50 something, 52.
Okay.
Like that.
There was. Then there's the one in Argentina.
Oh yes, the Falkland Islands.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that was a sort of colonial war.
Yeah.
To protect the empire.
Yeah.
And then there was the.
They cannot take our island.
They cannot take it. No, it's ours. It's ours. They're British.
What year was this? It was under Margaret Thatcher, right?
It was, and it kind of saved her. It saved her premiership because she was not popular, and her economic policies were really causing lots of unemployment.
I think I grew up when she was in power, Margaret Thatcher.
Okay.
And then there was this other guy who was spectacles.
Yes, John Major.
Yeah, John Major.
Yes.
Those are the major. Those are they're in my active memory.
Okay.
Margaret Thatcher, John Major.
Yes.
And then recently there was this guy, Tony Blair, who I thought was he couldn't be warned, so he just stepped down. Like this is my personal opinion. I was like, this guy is so good, so he just had to step down and leave it to the other guy called Gordon.
He did a Ruto Kenyatta sort of deal, like with Kenyatta being Blair and Ruto was Gordon Brown.
Okay.
But the difference was he actually stuck to the promise. So the second guy did get a go. He let him take over.
Oh yeah.
So,
but he didn't last.
No, he didn't last because it's a real shame actually. Because Gordon, sorry, this is very boring talking.
No,
about
it's not
politics.
boring. It is.
It's about British
not.
politics. Who wants to hear about British politics in a comedy podcast?
Many people.
Really? Okay. Well, I think Gordon Brown was a from Scotland. He was a very serious person. But he really did care, I think, genuinely about poverty. That was Tony Blair was kind of a bit of a. I'm not saying he didn't care about poverty, but his main priority was Tony Blair. Whereas I think Gordon Brown he did care about poverty. He did a lot of good work with aid programs helping poorer countries. He set up something called Gavi, which is the Global something vaccine initiative, which is basically it's still going. It's an institution that helps to fund vaccines, particularly in Africa and in poor countries. And he I think he was a good bloke. But he unfortunately he kind of misjudged the electorate, and he didn't quite time his election right.
Tony Blair?
Yeah, no, Gordon Brown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because he didn't last really long.
Yeah. Because Britain has a system of prime ministers where it's not like you vote for the prime minister. You vote for the
majority gets to elect the prime minister.
Or gets to choose the prime minister.
I think maybe Tony Blair. I think his biggest blight was the war on terror thing, like partnering up with George Bush, and otherwise he would have had a perfect run, right?
I think that's the thing that most people would hold against him. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The invasion of Iraq and on sort of unjustified grounds.
Yeah. But I liked him.
No, I did too. Actually, I did. I mean, I thought he was kind of he had a sort of magnetism and ability to inspire people and so on. I mean, I don't think I actually admired. I don't necessarily agree with all her policies, but I admired Margaret Thatcher more. I think she was a very decent person. I mean, she was wrong about some things, but I think she was a very, very strong, decent leader who was trying to do her best for the country, even if, you didn't agree necessarily with what her policies were. And I think, sorry, do you really want to talk about British politics?
No, we'll be out of it.
Let's move on, because I don't
even know how we got there.
There was Gladstone just right, and
maybe we'll do that.
Clement Attlee.
We'll do that on another podcast.
Yes,
we'll do that on another podcast.
It's starting to sound a bit like. Do you listen to And the Rest is History? Do you ever listen to that? It's a history with two guys talking about history. Oh, yeah.
I should check it out.
If you like history, it's a very good podcast.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
It's a shout out for their podcast, which has got about 10 million listeners.
People love history.
It's the most streamed podcast.
I am a history buff, so.
I mean, I don't know if we get any sort. If we give a shout out to them, do they give a shout out to this podcast?
I think they'll listen, and they will. We're gonna get a bump in subscribers. So yeah, back to you. We were talking about your school years. Now you're in high school. So you went to high school, day school.
Yeah.
So that wasn't very amazing.
I mean, it was good. It was good. It was fine. It was a really good school. It was really good, like decent teachers, happy. Happy school days. It was an all-boys school, which was the only thing. That was the only thing is I would have quite liked to have had some girls there, because it's obviously, as you're growing up, it's nice to interact with opposite sex. Probably would have grown up a more balanced person if I'd done it. But no, it's great. And I made good friends there. Some of them, I'm still in contact with.
Oh, so nice.
That's nice.
So university is when you went to boarding. How was that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not really boarding, because then you are boarding, but I mean, it's sort of, certainly in Britain, it's very much normal for sort of 18-year-olds to go away to university. it's not universal, but it's like the expected thing that you won't be at home. You'll go, which is great fun. You stay in a accommodation, university accommodation, and of course you're just studying all the time. You're not doing anything else. It's also very hard work.
So fast forward, how did you after campus? How did you decide to move to outside the UK?
So
what led to that?
I got the most exciting job you can possibly imagine. I became an accountant.
Oh, that's amazing!
And amazing, isn't it?
I love accountants.
Accountancy is
it's
kind of up there with being a rock. It's almost parallel with like being a rock star, isn't it? Or
Michael Jackson, accountant, and then the rest.
Yeah,
it's kind of
like kind of thing you really can use in like a chat up line.
Yeah, true. Like if a girl discovers you're an accountant, she just goes crazy.
Yeah. Well, actually, maybe she does because you think, oh yeah, you got the money. But anyway, you got your hands on the money. But so anyway, I did that. But I was aware that this was not a profession that had a very high sort of cool factor. And so I was kind of desperate to seek out like what nuance could I use. And the guy who interviewed me, like when I got the job, one of the things he said was, I set up the office here in Nairobi in Kenya. And there's always you could go out there sometime. And I didn't know anything about. I hadn't even heard. I mean, I'd heard of Kenya, obviously, like basic geography, but I really didn't know very much about it at all. But it sounded quite exciting and interesting, and so on. So basically, this was my line. I'm doing accountancy, but I'm going to go to Kenya. Even though, so basically, I kind of like set out on this path in a sort of, pathetic sense of just trying to make myself more interesting.
You already married at the time?
No, but I was with my wife, like it's boyfriend, girlfriend.
Okay.
And Claire was interested in as well. She thought that sounds quite interesting. So anyway, that's what happened. So I worked as an accountant in London for about 4 years, and then Claire and I said, this is all a bit boring. Let's go and have an adventure. What could we do? And I thought, we could go to. Well, it's Claire who said it because we talked about it before, and let's go to Kenya. So we did.
So you just said it on a whim?
Not quite a whim. I mean, not as it was, but it wasn't like we didn't come like with a list of 30 countries and look at the pros and cons. We just thought that sounds exciting and interesting thing to do. So
because you have obviously the company is going to pay for your transportation.
Yeah. So
accommodation.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like that's a nice deal.
We're very lucky. So we're extremely lucky. And I mean, I think, it was kind of in those days, it was still, I guess, a bit of a colonial hangover that people, Brits were brought out to work.
It was in the 80s?
80s, yeah.
Okay.
I don't mean, it was long after independence, but there was still that tendency that international firms tended to bring in expatriates. I mean, now, which is great, is that there's so much local talent, there's much less need to do that. And probably it wasn't need then, but it was the kind of just the way things worked, which benefited us. And we came out, and we, like within like a week of arriving, because we just came on 2-year contracts. And my wife also had a contract out here for her work in teaching.
That's cool.
And we just said, this is amazing.
Yeah. You loved it.
Loved it. Yeah.
And how was it like those days? Like,
okay, beer cost $5 bob.
Oh, beer,
but like a Tusker was $5 bob. Everything was price controlled. So the price of bread, the price of beer, it was all set by government.
Oh right.
Oh yeah. No, you couldn't charge what you wanted.
Okay.
So it's like 5 or 6 shillings for a beer. Sorry, I don't know why that was the first thing I said, but I always think that's quite remarkable. There was obviously, I mean, I think at least half of all Kenyans were born after we got here. So basically, I've been in Kenya longer than most Kenyans, just because of the demographics. Because we came here, like nearly 40 years ago, and the median age of Kenyans is like 20, I think, 21, something like that.
Right now, right.
So there's a lot more Kenyans younger than us, who were born after we came, and. So the there's a lot more space, a lot less buildings.
Okay.
A lot. It's.
Where were people staying that time? You went straight to.
We lived in Westlands.
Oh, okay.
Westlands. Yeah, we were very fortunate. We were the company put us up in a little flat in Westlands, which is still there. But now the flyover goes right past the expressway, goes right past our window. So we drive past. And
right.
If we were still there, we'd just have
Oh, so it's right there on the highway.
It was that level of the. It was high, it was like on the third floor, but now it's level with the expressway.
Oh, and the flat is still there.
Yeah, the flat is still there. It has a little plaque saying, we were. No, it doesn't have a little plaque. but
I'm gonna be driving along the expressway different. So did you have? Was it hard to adapt? Like you're in a new country. Did you have kids by then?
No. Our kids were born in Kenya. I know, it wasn't hard to adapt. It wasn't. I mean, I know Kenyans are so nice. You are such friendly people, so welcoming. It's just a pleasure. It's like straight away we just felt at home.
All right.
And it's and obviously there's a strong historical British connection. And so it's just not that strange if you're coming from Britain, because there's sort of familiar things.
And then many people, almost everyone can speak in English.
Yeah. I mean,
that helps.
Try. Don't get me to speak Swahili. That would be very embarrassing. But I did make an effort to learn Swahili, and I'm kind of trying to relearn it again now, but and again, that's something people are so responsive. If you do try and speak in Swahili, or even if you know a few words of Ma or Kiluya or something, and people love it.
Yeah.
But I will. It's dangerous to say this because now I'm going to go home. I'm going to get robbed or something, and because I say you never had any problems, always, and I'm going to go and there's something terrible is going to happen. I say, I just saying,
feel like you're
everything was
jinxing
fine,
it.
and now, so at the risk of jinxing it, I would say that we have had a very happy ride, and we're very proud to to call Kenya home, and I think. And also, I think Britain is not too. Britain's okay, and they have immigrants there. But sometimes you think, British people are not so kind to immigrants, and yet we've never had any issues. I mean, maybe people are behind our backs saying, come on, go back to England,
go back home.
Go back home. But we've never ever experienced that.
Yeah,
and which is great, and a real shows what sort of country this is.
Have you traveled? I'm sure you've traveled. Around Kenya?
Oh yes, very much so. Yes, not as much as we should. I mean, we should travel more because it's also a country which we feel really repays the effort to go somewhere. And it's not true of all countries. I mean, some countries you go and I won't say which because I don't want to be rude about countries, but some places you visit and it's kind of all the same, or it's very difficult to sort of engage or to find things or to do things. But we find in Kenya that it's such a nice country to go and just explore, and you just go to some new part of the country.
What are your favorite spots outside Nairobi?
There's so many, actually, so many. I mean, naturally, the natural environment, the national parks, but the sort of scenery, the coast is lovely. Obviously, I mean, the things I guess all the tourists like, but also just going into some of the little dukas, there's a little place on the road by the Aberdares. It's just this tiny little shack, and one time we were sort of hungry. So, I wonder if they sell mandazis, and we went in there, and they're just like the best. They're the best mandazis you've ever eaten, and I think it's called tiwi. I know, not the tiwi. Is it called
not
tiwi?
The Diani tiwi?
No, not the line. Oh, is it? It's got the same name as somewhere else that's much bigger. Anyway, it may not be tiwi, maybe something else. So I don't want to say that. Anyway, but little surprise things like that. And there's this guy, and it's one of these typical little hotelis, and except the guy's got like a fire, he's not got a gas stove, he's got an actual fire in the back with like a stove, like an oven, and he's like making the
he's churning out the mandazis,
fresh and they're hot, and everyone's like, hi, they're friendly. Hey, why is the Mzungu coming in? It's just they're not saying this is like that. It's really working, and it's lovely. And so little things like that, and lots and lots of experiences.
Have you been down to Turkana?
We would be up to
up. Sorry.
Well, only because it's on the map. It's up, but I down.
I don't know why I said down.
No, I don't know. I mean, this down is as good as up because it's horizontal. But
but you've been. Did you drive there?
We did. I mean, we've been a few times, but we were just saying we need to go again because it's such an adventure. But we've been I don't know, about four or five times.
I'd love to go. I tell you, I want to go there, but no. I want to go on a bike though.
I like a push bike, a bicycle,
a motorbike.
A motorbike.
Yeah, I want to ride up the north. There's a circuit which is coming up where these travelers have created a route where you go through Loyangalani, and then there's where you can go down to Lodwar.
So can you go around the top of the lake? Because technically you go into Ethiopia, but is there a way?
I've no clue. I just have this from. There's a guy I had on the podcast last week who was telling me about his ride up there, and it was just. And I was so intrigued because it's something I'd like to do. I'd like to go, just check out how it looks.
So do you ride? You have a bike? Or?
I have a bike. I had a bike which I sold because I want to get an off-road bike. I had a Suzuki Gixxer.
Okay.
So the Gixxer is more like a town run bike. But now I want to get an off-road bike so that I can do that.
Imi had an off-road bike.
Oh, she did?
A KTM.
She still has. But that one is just for fun, right? It's not for actual tours. Was she?
It was. No, we did we got these two bikes. They were like sort of being not thrown away, but they were being sold quite cheaply. We just tried them, and I actually found it exciting, but completely terrifying because I was always, when I was off-road, I was always just terrified the wheels were just going to slip and I'd fall off.
So you didn't ride for long?
But we did actually do, which is really good fun. We did a ride down to the coast, down to Mombasa, but just off-road through the sort of Bundu. We went down through like.
There's a track.
Yeah, there is a way. I mean, now quite a lot of it's been. It's good. It's good for cars and stuff. It's being put on tarmac, but then it was sort of dirt tracks and stuff, and that was.
That's a very nice way of exploring a country.
It is. I mean, it is nice. I actually prefer being in a four-wheel car, four-wheel drive car, because it's more companionable. I think the thing about the biking is that you're really just yourself. You're not chatting. You're sort of focusing on but I mean, it's great fun. I mean, I know lots of people really, really like it, so I wouldn't put you off at all. I mean,
I think it's also cheaper because you'll spend less on fuel on the bike.
Yes, I think that's probably except if you've got like 4 people in the car compared to four bikes.
Yeah,
it's probably
true. Amy told me about your trip to South Africa. Now that we're talking about trips, but you went by road. What year was this?
That was in 1997, 98. It took us 6 months. Yeah, sort of set off in 97. Yeah.
Okay. Was it an idea you had for a while?
Yes, actually, because we although we came out to Kenya in the 80s, then we moved because of my job. We went to Ethiopia for a bit, and then we went to Uganda, which is also a lovely country. Both lovely countries. But then when we finished in Uganda, we said, well, we're not just going straight back to Kenya. Let's take some time. Let's take a break. And we took the. Imi was like so high,
Okay.
Our other daughter was a bit. They were quite young kids.
Yeah.
But still at school. But we took them out of. Well, Abigail was at school. I think we took her out of school, and just had a great time in a very, very old Land Rover.
What route? Oh, it was an old Land Rover.
Yeah, ancient Land Rover.
Did it break down at any point?
It did. Yes, it did break down. Although to be fair, it wasn't. It was more to do with my foolishness than the fault of the car.
Oh, okay.
Because I tried towing a huge truck was stuck. And we thought, this is in Malawi, and we'll and we did. It successfully towed this truck, but about
The engine
the engine was okay, but then much later in the holiday, suddenly the clutch broke, and the guy said, "Oh, it's because you strained this thing." Anyway,
so what route did you use?
Sorry, we went from Uganda to Kenya, then we went down through Tanzania, Zanzibar, and then down through Tanzania to Malawi, and through Malawi, then into Mozambique, across to Zimbabwe. From Zimbabwe, we went back into Mozambique. They went down the Mozambique coast, went into Swaziland, or it's not called that anymore, Eswatini, I think it's called now, Swaziland, and then went into South Africa. This is a very boring list of countries, but anyway, and to South Africa we went to Namibia, Botswana, Zambia, Tanzania, Kenya.
Oh, okay. So you drove back up?
Yeah, down and up.
That's interesting. So where were you staying? You're just staying on the side of the road?
We were staying in we had a little tent.
Somewhere you'd get a motel on the way.
We had a sort of a tent on the roof of the car, like a roof tent thing. And we camped. I mean, we didn't really camp wild so much. We generally camped at sort of like in national park campsites and stuff like that. Or we stayed in like small, cheap bandas or lodgings or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I really recommend. I mean, this was a long time ago, but it's a real adventure, and I think now the roads are actually much better. So it's quite a feasible.
And this was before like Google Maps, right? Like, you had a physical map.
We had a physical map made of actual paper.
Yes.
Have you seen? Have you seen one of those? Your audience.
Probably, I saw it in geography.
Your audience probably never seen one. It's like a big sheet of karatasi, and it's got like drawings of roads, and it's very handy, and you don't need to change the batteries.
True. You just so long as it doesn't get wet.
As long as it doesn't get wet. So we had maps, and it was right at the beginning of the kind of communications age. So we did. I think we had mobile. Do we have mobile phones?
Did you have pages?
I think we did have, but they didn't connect in the outside of. I can't actually remember whether we had mobile phones.
There was this satellite phone those days.
Yeah, there was, but we actually, thank goodness we didn't buy it, because we came to a little place. It was actually almost exactly like your studio here in a block of flats, where this guy was selling satellite phones for like $3,000.
Damn.
And we thought, should we get one of those? And we thought, well, and thank goodness we didn't, because it would have been an utter waste of money.
Oh, okay.
Because within a few years, everyone's got one.
Yeah.
And they did have. I mean, the internet had sort of started, so like we had email addresses, so we could like stop in internet cafes. But like in those days, like after a month, I got like 3 emails. It's not like it's not like today where you get like 200 emails in a day, and So anyway, but it was great.
Did it do something to you, the trip? Did you guys bond better? Were you
absolutely
close family?
I'd say it's like one of the core experiences in our family life to have done that. I mean, for Claire and me, and for our elder daughter, I think Imogen, just because she was that much younger, probably can't remember so much about it, but I think she still can remember. No, but it's sort of, we call it the big safari. When we were on the big safari.
You remember the day we went to the big safari?
Exactly.
Down to South Africa through Zimbabwe.
Yeah, exactly that.
No, I remember a few things I did with my dad. We didn't do a big safari, but some of those memories are very, like in my recent memory, we used to have dinner at some place called Silver Springs.
Oh, yes.
If you've ever been,
Yes, I know, yes, absolutely.
So he'd take us there for dinner. It was really fun.
Yes.
Then we'd go for Fox Drive-In.
Yes, Fox Drive-In, yes.
Yeah, we'd go and watch movies.
Is that still there? Fox
no, it's as dead as a dodo.
We used to go to Fox Drive-In.
Yes. Yeah, that was really fun. You also, Imogen told me you crashed your plane once. You crashed a plane. Yes. This
is a bit traumatic, but yes, I had a.
What year was this?
It was a few years ago. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. I had one of the things I did when I came to Kenya, because then it was very cheap. I mean, it really was cheap to learn to fly.
Yeah.
It's one of the cheapest places in the world.
I'm actually we're going back to flying school.
You are?
Yeah.
Are you a pilot?
Not yet.
Oh, cool. Where are you learning?
It's called West Rift. I was at a school called 99.
Oh, that's where I learned to fly. 99.
But I didn't finish.
99 was a women's flying club.
All right.
It was set by some women aviator, and I was taught by a lady called Denise, who I'm sure isn't around anymore. She's an American lady.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I interrupted.
It has a reputation of being very strict. Right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you want if you're learning to fly.
I think so.
You don't want anything lackadaisical. No, and I loved it. I did really enjoy it. It's a beautiful country to see from the air and bush strips and stuff like that. But I didn't probably fly as much as I should do, and it just an unfortunate sequence of events, which was an element of pilot error, but also an element of bad luck.
Were you on your own?
No, I was with Claire. Oh. And so, we were fine.
So where were you headed?
We were up north in north of Nanyuki, north of Archer's Post, a airstrip up there.
Uh-huh. So what happened?
Well,
tell us the story.
Well, it's not very exciting. I could give you lots of boring aviation-y type details, but the sort of summary was there's the runway, yeah, on the we're coming into land, and for lots of different reasons, because of the angle of the runway, some information I'd been given that I had misinterpreted, and the wind conditions and the runway conditions. That I landed right at the beginning of the runway, but it was just where they had done some work, and there was a mound of sand, and I hit the sand and I bounced, and then the little planes have one wheel, and they're three wheels, and one wheel is in the nose at the front. I don't know if you can see my fingers, and the front wheel then came down and it dug into the sand.
Oh, okay.
So as soon as you dug in, then the plane flips over, and so we ended up upside down. So we're hanging upside down in the plane, and we had a bottle of water in with us, and this water had gone everywhere, and I was saying, "Oh God, it's fuel! We're covered in fuel! We're going to burn!" And the class said, "It's all right, it's only water." Oh, right. But then she didn't say that, but she realised that. But the one lesson I can give to your listeners is if you're ever upside down in an aeroplane, be very careful before you take your seatbelt off, because the first thing that will hit is your head, unless you put your hand above your head. So Claire, my wife, very sensibly, she put her hand up under the seatbelt, no problem. I
think you panicked.
No, I didn't panic. I reacted instinctively.
From hanging upside down.
Rapidly. I did not panic. That's not right. But no, I was certainly, I didn't think before I acted as much as I should. Anyway, we got out, and it was sad. But again, the lovely Kenyans were so kind and helpful and looked after us, and we were all right. What
happens when a plane crashes? You have to, the aircraft investigation guys have to be involved,
right? So we had to wait there while the sort of local police came and checked it, and then the air traffic investigation guy, I did a statement of what had happened, and they investigated, make sure no one was hurt.
And then there's the boring part of towing the plane.
I basically did a deal with the company that serviced the plane, and there was no mechanical problem with the plane. It wasn't like the servicing is bad or anything.
So you were back in there in a couple of months.
They did it. They organised all of that, and I sold it to them.
Oh, okay.
As sort of as is
on an as is basis.
Because I kind of felt I'm not saying I won't fly again, but do other things for a bit.
Oh, okay. So you don't fly much now, do you?
No, I haven't flown since then.
Oh, since then?
No. I mean, the thing is, it's a very interesting, exciting thing to do, but it does take a lot of mental energy, and to be safe, you have to do it quite a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Which is expensive. It takes up a lot of time, and also it's not, it's not great for personal relationships if you're constantly thinking about flying. It's not sort of and Claire, Claire sort of she was happy to come with me, but she found it a bit alarming generally, but she steeled herself and said no, I'm going to come flying, and then
and then
we
that
have a
happens.
crash. So
Yeah.
it's not fair. It's not fair to put her through that.
Yeah.
And also, I feel obviously wish it hadn't happened, but at the same time, I really enjoyed doing it, and then life goes in phases, and you get involved in other stuff.
Yeah.
So I have some other projects that I'm doing at the moment, which hopefully won't end up with me being upside down.
Yeah, upside down on a runway.
Although they might do.
Speaking of other projects, man, tell me more about Rhino Charge. I don't know much about it.
Oh, well, that could Rhino Charge could result in me ending up upside down.
Definitely.
But you know what Rhino Charge is?
Yes, I know. This is what I know. I know there's a fence being built. It's an electric fence.
Right.
All right.
Yes.
I don't know how far it is in terms of. I don't know if it's complete.
Okay.
But I know the money raised at the Rhino Charge.
I can't give you the sort of precise details on Rhino Charge. I tell you what you should do though is you should interview one of the Rhino Charge organising committee or someone like that. Because it's a fantastic story. So that would be a good interview. But from my perspective, as a competitor, something I've done it for about 4 or 5 years, and the money is raised all of the money that's raised is to help Kenya. You're absolutely right. It's fencing. And it's the fence, the really important water catchment areas. So like the Aberdares, Mount Kenya are vital for wildlife, but they're also vital for Nairobi. They're vital for everyone because that's where Kenya's big rivers come. So if the trees are cut, that will mean those rivers dry up. So it's to protect the trees, to protect the wildlife, but it's also to protect the communities that live around the forest, because if you are a farmer and elephants come out and destroy your crop, then you're gonna, it's bad for you, and it's also bad for conservation. So it's to protect the farmers, to stop conflict, and also to protect the forest. So it's a really good cause, and it's been recognised by presidents of all persuasions, and by politicians and by other people, and I think and anyway, so and you can actually see, if you look at satellite images, you can see where the fences are, because you can see one side is all cut, and then the other side is protected. Anyway, so it's a good cause, but the essence of it is a competition for four-wheel drive vehicles driving through crazy country, trying to do a course in the minimum distance. So it's not the.
So you're supposed to go from point A to B.
Yeah.
But you use the shortest distance.
Exactly. So for example, if I was a Rhino Charge car and I wanted to go out onto the veranda, I wouldn't go through the door. I'd climb through the window.
Yeah.
Because it's quicker. It will take me more time, but it's less distance if I go through the window. So it's that kind of crazy thing.
Oh, okay.
And it's at a different place each year. And also it's really good with the local community. So the organisers sign a sort of like a contract, an agreement with the local community to say, you agree to have this on your land, in return for which we will fund something like a dispensary or a school or something like that, which is a separate fundraising to the main fundraising. So they help the local communities, and they also encourage tourism and so on and so forth. So it's quite good for the communities, and it's just a great event, and it's nice because it's activities kind of tend to get a bit segregated in Kenya, and this is the Mzungu Club and whatever. But it's really great because you've got teams from every ethnicity in Kenya, a lot of Mahindis who very engineering types, a lot of crazy sort of Kenya cowboys with their sort of shorts and stuff like that, and a lot of African Kenyans as well who are really into the cars and the competition. So it's great fun. It's a great atmosphere.
How well have you done? Have you won any?
No. I mean, it's partly because the car that we drive is a very old vehicle. It's a Jeep that was originally built in the 1940s. So it's like kind of
called Willie?
80. Yeah, it's
you named it, right?
No, I didn't name it. No. The company that made the Jeep, it was called Willys.
Oh, okay.
but also pronounced Willies.
All right.
Willys, which of course Imogen finds very funny.
Uh-huh.
You know, I don't know. I don't find that funny, but she finds that very funny that it's called Willies.
Uh-huh.
So we have a slogan on our shirts, which actually Imogen designed for us, which says, "We love our Willies."
All right.
It's just like saying we love our Toyota. We love. So it's.
It should not be misconstrued.
I don't know. Some people. I don't know.
To mean anything else.
It just means we love our Ford. We love our Nissan.
Yes.
We love our Willies.
Yeah,
I mean,
true. I get it.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's kind of. If you haven't gone, go, because you can go as a spectator. It's not expensive to go in.
I'll jump on this year and see. I'll go check it out.
You should go for it.
Yeah.
And I tell you what would be really, really good is that every year they do a video of the event, but they don't do any kind of commentary. Mm-hmm. Or they do a bit of commentary, but it's very amateurish.
Okay.
But to have like a comedian commentate, because there's inherently funny, well, I'm not a comedian, but funny things happening. You know, there's like cars getting stuck in crazy angles and really, you know, like the first one we did, they had to abandon part of it because of bees. Suddenly bees got disturbed, and suddenly all these bees were sort of and then
so everyone had to flee.
So now every car has to have a bee suit in the car. It's like one of the requirements. So I don't know whether you the bees. Let's get the bees. No, there's only one bee suit, and it's 4 of us. Who's going to? I want to wear the bee suit.
So is it recorded? Is there like a crew following the cars?
No. Well, there are. It's more that people's own videos, and then they sort of ask people to send in their videos.
Oh, okay, they compile them.
There is no, but that's not quite true. There's also some professional video.
Oh, okay.
As well.
Okay. We'll talk about it. We'll see.
Yeah.
I have a friend, a comedian friend. His name is John Ribier.
Mm-hmm.
He does he's very good at commentating.
Okay.
He does it for this this sports. How do I describe it? Like it's sports, but it's digital sports.
You mean like
PlayStation?
Okay. Yes.
So they yes. Right now it's a big thing.
Yeah, no, it's huge.
Yeah, there are huge tournaments. So he does commentating for that. So I'll talk to him and we'll see if we can do something with you guys. Hopefully,
I'm too old to get the appeal of that. If I'm going to do something, I want to do it in reality.
Yeah. In real terra firma.
Real terra firma.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think it's almost about time for us to wrap up. So do you? One of the things that I was curious about was if you. Do you regret coming over to Kenya? Do you love it? Like, how do you?
Not regret it for one tiny second. And I tell you a true story, and it even sometimes happens to me now. Do you know what I mean by a recurring nightmare? Like a nightmare or something. So I literally have
this
nightmare
that repeats.
It repeats, yeah. And I literally have this recurring nightmare, and I still very occasionally have it. And in this nightmare, we've decided to move back to the UK, and we're back in the UK, and it's like I'm going. I use different forms, but like the one I really remember is I go into the office in London, and it's like raining, and I'm sitting there with all these boring people, and it's just like this feeling of, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
Why have we left Kenya? Why have we come back here? And then I just wake up and it was
just a dream.
Yeah, it was just a dream.
Claire,
I know. No, that's a true story. That is an absolute true story. And so, no. So your answer to your question is absolutely never.
Have you ever thought of changing citizenship?
Well, I mean, it's if you speak to any sort of Wazungu who live here, or not just Wazungu, other foreigners, non-Kenyans, it's a difficult process.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's but we do have long-term residence rights, and God willing,
something like
one
that.
day we could become citizens.
Yeah, hopefully,
I
man.
would be very happy.
Invite me for the party, man.
Yeah, very happy to. Be a citizen.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
So they have a long-term residence.
Yeah,
thing
exactly.
that somebody can
live
on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not quite the same as being a citizen, but it's very close. You can't vote, but also you can't get called up for active service. So if there was a war,
You'd be out.
No, they can't. They can't say
you can't be drafted.
You can't be drafted.
Yeah.
Although I think I'm probably a bit above the drafting age.
Me too. Actually, didn't know.
Well,
I didn't know that if you're over 35, you're not really.
I don't know what the rules are in Kenya, but
I think I'm clear off.
We're not going to have a war. But
Yeah,
Kenya's a peaceful country.
Yeah.
It's friendly terms with its neighbours.
Yeah.
I think we're okay.
Yeah, true. If you aren't living if you're not in Kenya, where else do you like in Africa?
Well, Uganda, we've got a very soft spot for Uganda because we lived there for 4 years, again, that's a lovely country. I won't talk about the politics at the moment, but the people are fun, and it's. I suppose that it doesn't have quite the variety of Kenya, but I mean, comparisons are not helpful. No, it's a lovely place. So Uganda, we have traveled because we did that big trip. We've done a few other travels. Zambia actually, I like. Zambia's it's a nice feeling of space, and again, it's not quite true that everywhere you go in Africa people are friendly, but definitely eastern part of Africa. No, sorry, I'm not trying to say Western not. No, I won't say. Sorry, that's a very bad thing to say.
Have you been to West Africa though?
Yes, and I love West Africa too. But they're completely different people. It's a completely different
culture.
I mean, and great people, really great people in West Africa. But I remember going to. I've only been there for work, and I went there for a meeting. I went there to do some work, but there was a meeting. It was in Nigeria. Big table, big government office, very similar to what you'd have here. All the people I know they weren't permanent secretaries, but they were sort of fairly senior government officials. I think it was discussing education, and then chairman, and then suddenly this woman stood up, and she started saying to the chairman, I can't do the Nigerian accent, but this is a complete rubbish. What you're saying is,
she did not agree.
And she was going on, and she was like, you're a cheat and a thief, and and I was just sitting there thinking, oh my God, because there's no way that would happen.
God,
I was like, this is awful.
Yeah.
Oh, what am I going to write in my report? And then as we come out of the meeting, and they're all best of friends, and this is and I just said to my colleague, well, and he said, there's always happening in meetings.
It's normal.
That's normal, and it's just a different energy. I mean, there's I wouldn't compare better worse. It's just different. I mean, it's just a different culture, different energy.
Yeah.
So
I went to Nigeria once. I went to Lagos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was
terrifying place.
Yeah, it was.
So, was it terrifying?
Like right outside the airport when you leave the terminal. When you leave you clear immigration, then you walk out of the building. Like so many guys selling stuff right there.
Yeah.
At the airport, it was a bit of a shock.
And I had to go. I didn't actually go into Lagos. I was going up to Abuja. And they just said, just buy a ticket at the airport. Oh, okay. So you arrive on an international flight, and then you go to the local terminal, which is just, I mean, it's less organised than getting a matatu.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a complete mayhem.
Yeah.
And there's no proper announcements or boards, and there's just people selling tickets, and the planes are kind of got to get off the ground, and they're sort of last serviced in 1967, and it's like
it's wild. It's the Wild West. But Abuja is more organized than Lagos.
Abuja. Well, this is quite a long time ago as well. I mean, it was probably 20 years ago, but it was it was a sort of organized place.
Because I think they moved the seat of government from Lagos to Abuja.
Yes, quite a long time ago.
They rebuilt a whole new.
Yes,
city.
this is sort of one of these places like the Mexico, I think, did the same. The Doma in Tanzania,
that place too.
I think they're slowly relocating the ministries there. Good.
Have you traveled South America?
Not really.
Imogen was there.
She was there on several for a year, and then.
Were you worried when she was out there?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
I think she's.
I think she's a chip off the old block.
She can look after. Now, of course, we're worried. We're parents, and you're always worried for your kids. But I think she's pretty. tough cookie. She could look after herself. She did fantastic stuff there, and learned Spanish, fluent in Spanish. She even did stand up there. I think she did the stand up in English, but she's stand up in South America. So she's cool. So definitely we will it's on our bucket list of places to visit.
Me too, man. I've had you here for 1 hour 24 minutes, so I'm gonna invite you. Maybe we'll do another one of these days. Talk about politics, man. I feel like we're hitting a very nice nerve there. Huh?
Politics, eh?
Or we'll have it over a beer, man.
Yeah. I'm
I'm
very happy in Kenya. I want to stay in Kenya. I don't want to upset anyone.
Yeah, so let's have it over a beer. No, British politics for sure.
British politics. You talked about British politics, but that's boring. Who wants to hear about British politics? American politics, maybe that's a bit more,
especially
to the point
now
at the moment.
No, but thanks for coming through. As I was telling you off the podcast, I want to do more of such podcasts with guys older than me. Just figure out if we can. I used to have a neighbor right here on this floor. There was an old guy who used to live. I'll show you after the podcast. He was an old guy. He used to be a truck driver. But I never ever got to have him on the podcast. He was very interesting. I'm sure he had so many stories. He passed on.
Amazing stories.
Yeah, he passed on a couple of months ago. He was this loud Arab guy.
Wow.
So he decided to live out his life here because he didn't want to go back to Mombasa, and he just decided his kids are doing really well, but he just wanted to live because most of this just rooms like this. But for him, it was just big enough for him. So he lived out his life there. So one of the things I was regretting was, why didn't I have him on the podcast, man?
Well, get them now. I mean, I don't know whether it'll be of interest to your audience, having sort of old farts. I think it's but
they're going to see the podcast. Most podcasts are you bring in people you're interested in.
Yes, and then that interest.
Yeah, so it's more. It's a very selfish thing.
Yeah,
podcasting.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if you started a podcast, I'm sure you'll bring in people who you're interested in, and then the audience sort of builds itself around you. So you're sort of the same tribe.
That's interesting.
It's like building a tribe of sorts. Yeah.
I mean, I'd never ever thought of that, but. Like what sort of people I would ask if I had a podcast.
Like if you're doing a radio show, radio is very commercial, so they want you to bring a specific type of person. But a podcast is very individual, so you bring the people who you find interesting. So thanks for making the time.
Well, thank you. It's been a great pleasure.
I hope you've enjoyed yourself too.
Well, I have. I feel I've been blabbering on in a very boring fashion.
No, I don't think so.
I don't know whether anyone will want to listen to it. But
no,
thank you for asking me.
I've enjoyed the conversation. I'm sure on this podcast I always tell people it's not a one-time invite. So hopefully I'll invite you again and we can cover more.
Have pieces. A series.
Yeah. All right.
And I look forward to the show.
Yeah.
On Saturday.
Yes, we have a show on Saturday. It's called Under the Tree.
Under the Silly Tree.
Under the Silly Tree. Yeah, in Karen. Yes. So I am hosting. I'm going to be there with Imogen is curating.
Imogen.
And then we have Maina Monene. We have Ruth Nyambura and another guy called Marcus Douglas.
And how do people get tickets? Or they just show up? Or
there's a number. I'm going to share the poster right here.
Cool.
So there's a number. You just call that number and reserve your seats. Do it early because I think the room is going to fill up really fast. So hopefully I'll see many of you guys there. And then also remember, Mr. Hooper has a play, Oliver Twist.
Oliver Twist.
Yes.
Yes, on the 9th of May, starting on the 9th of May at Braeburn, Katanga Road.
Yes.
And I'm also going to be at your comedy show. So if anyone's totally inspired by this conversation, they can come and ask me to clarify on any facts.
Yeah, true. If you need to verify
the data,
come through on this Saturday the 12th, and then we're gonna jump on Richard Hooper's show and just enjoy comedy and life in Nairobi. Thanks for coming through. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Thanks.
And this is a brown olive tree, and this is a white olive tree. Yes, this is a olive tree, and this is a sandalwood tree. Sandpaper tree. They do friction between the tools, and the blowing ashes drop with the knife. After dropping with the knife, we transfer to back part of the flame. Then we blow to our flame. When the flame is out, we add some more fire from the part of the wick. Then we call each lady to come and pick up piece of fire. So now we are going to do just a simple demonstration for you to see. So you pick one video.
So when you go to the bush, you go with this?
Yes, you have to do that. Mani kita aja ya. Relay soal kalau kita aja tahu. Nara lah sama orang jalan. Kita lihat orang Sela gue coba. Mbak dengar namu, maju nabala, bala gue nih. Ya gol lendo gitu. Jaffa is ready. Normal.
Yo.
And then barbecue.
Bonfire barbecue. Wow.
Oh.
It's amazing stuff.
I know. It's like.
After that, they add more flour for the part of the week.
Uh huh.
Then they call each lady to come and pick up piece of fire.
Oh, okay.